we are live this evening. Hey guys, good evening, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello,
Hi.
hello.
Good evening. Good
So
evening,
my
gents.
name is John B, and this is Level Up Geek Nights, our wonderful podcast where we get to talk about geeky stuff and God. Wow, galing, no? God and geeky stuff. So,
Amen.
in other words, GG. Wow, naisingit
GG.
ko pa yun.
Tama naman. Tama naman.
True naman.
It's true.
So with me tonight, I have our wonderful cast of panelists. Well, panelists. So I
Yeah.
Hi.
have our chibi otaku down there below. Say hi, hi, Maya.
Konbanwa, minasan.
Wow.
And of course, we have our COO, Boss Mang, Don Z. Hey, John.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone. So tonight we have a very interesting topic that we're going to be talking about. Medyo controversial because we're going to talk about witchcraft and wizardry. Boss.
Controversial
Controversial
if
if
you
you
are
are
a
a
particularly
particularly
conservative
conservative
person,
person,
I
I
guess,
guess,
Christian,
Christian,
whichever.
whichever. So ano
So,
bang topic natin for tonight, John?
well,
Well,
okay.
okay.
So, in our series called Finding God in, our topic for tonight, or our particular material for tonight, is the recent Harry Potter game, Magic Awakens. And
Yeah.
specifically, since there's a lot of story in it, we're going to be tackling the first character arc that is revealed,
Hmm.
which is one of your companions, the character Ivy Worthington. So, Ivy and her story and all the things she goes through will be the one that we're going to be kind of following and unpacking. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't played the game or if you just want to hear about it, then we are going to talk about the first character and the things she goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Why is it so
Why
popular? I
nga
don't know.
ba?
Bakit kaya? Actually, I'm
Well,
not so sure how
for
popular it
one,
is. Ano
ako
ba?
for
Ano ba,
one,
Mai?
when I stumbled upon this, well, nag-stumble ba? But ano eh, well, you guys actually pulled me into it. Um, I did find it very interesting because yung mga games na lumabas about Harry Potter was more of sa console,
Mm,
and I guess PC then. But this game kasi it's more of very co-op friendly
true.
and um very ano din, you can socialize with people and play the mini games with other people, especially the dance. I really like that. So yun, parang ano siya, it's very new to me. And
Mm,
yung mga console na games kasi it's more of single player. So I guess
that's true.
it really kind of piqued my interest. Although kahit ano, ngayon lang siya lumabas, it's been years since 'di ba natapos yung series ng Harry Potter. But it's
Mm-mm.
still kind of ano eh, parang it picks up from there. 'Di ba parang ano siya, it's a new batch of students
Mm-hmm.
sa
Right,
Hogwarts.
right.
So, ayun kaya the story is interesting pa rin. Hindi siya yung same story as before, but even if it's a new kind of it's a new story from picking up from
Mhm.
the original Harry Potter, it still feels original pa rin naman. So,
Yeah,
yun sa akin.
true. So this actually happens roughly during the time of yung Harry Potter's the original generation of Harry Potter, yung mga anak nila. So
Hmm.
the timeline is around
It's like considering the original series timeline ended in around 1997, tama ba? Seventh
yes.
year of ano because the first year was of Harry Potter was 1991. So
Mhm.
97.
Oh my god. 91?
Yes, nerd.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
it is
it is
supposed to
supposed to
happen
happen
during
during
91 to
91 to
97.
97.
Uh,
So
So so
Harry
Harry
and
and
friends
friends
graduate
graduate
in
in
97
97.
ata.
yeah.
So
Well,
if
If
it's,
it,
by the
by
way,
the way,
if you
if you
don't
don't
know
know
these
these
things,
things,
don't
don't
worry.
worry.
The
The
mini
mini
games
games
in
in
this
this
game
game
will remind you.
will
will
remind you
remind you
because there are
because
a
there
lot
are
of
a lot of
mini
mini
games
games
here,
here.
one of
One of
which is
which is
Harry
Harry
Potter
Potter
trivia.
trivia.
So,
Mm.
So,
diba, yung
diba,
mga
yung mga
mini
mini
games,
games,
the
the
You
classes,
classes,
you
the
get
the
to go
classes,
to
classes,
classes with
you
people.
get you
you
get to
get
go
to
to
go to
class with
class with
people,
people,
and
and
all of
all
the
of the
facts
facts
here are
here are
basically
basically
nerd
nerd
info.
Yes,
info.
nerd stuff.
Yes.
So,
Sobrang
how
How
nerd.
well do
well
you
do you
know
know
Harry
Harry
Potter
Potter
universe
universe
stuff?
stuff?
Yes.
So anyway, if considering 97 is when the plot of of the books ended. Of course, the last book was published later na, no? Much later, in 2000 something na. But the
Mm.
actual setting, it ended in 97. So if that is the case, Harry Potter Magic Awakens timeline is moved thereabouts present day. Thereabouts
Yeah.
present
Yeah.
day 2020s.
Nah,
No,
it's
it's
year
year
2000 na
2000 na
siya.
siya.
10
10
years
years
after
after
original
original
series.
series.
Oh wow, 10 years after. So
After
it's
the
After the
end.
end.
After the
After the
end.
end.
As
As
in
in
prologue
prologue
plus
plus
thing.
thing.
prologue plus 10 years.
No,
No,
sorry,
sorry,
not
not
prologue.
prologue.
Except for
Except
the
for the
prologue,
prologue,
yung when
when
they're
they're
all
all
old
old
and
and
have
have
kids.
kids.
Yung
Yung
end, the
end, the
formal
formal
end.
end.
Yeah. So
So
it's
10
before
years
the
after,
prologue.
yeah.
So basically, it's before their kids go to Hogwarts too.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Right,
Right,
right.
right.
So um, that's the case. Wow. Okay. Now I have to arrange my timeline in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Which is
why when
why
you
when
go
you go
in
in
game
game,
and then you interact with all of the fiction and lore, um, Harry Potter, Hermione, Ron, and everyone else are adults here. In fact,
Mm, yeah,
one
yeah.
of the students, see Neville Longbottom, is one of
It
your
is
teachers.
professor.
Yeah, he's a professor, and he's like at this point he's like what 30, almost 30. So because it's 10 years after, right, and they graduate at like what 18, 19, 20, something like that. So
Mm.
he's approaching 30s. So yeah. Oh, audio check. Are we good?
Sorry. I am sorry. The audio. That's my problem. Anyway, so as I was saying, yeah, I just have to preface that I enjoyed the series.
Mm.
Even as a Christian, I was actually reading the books. And as long as there's an understanding that it is a fictional series, I think we have to get that out, because I think one of the complaints that a lot of Christians is that it's promoting witchcraft and wizardry to young kids, that they will want
Mm.
to become witches and wizards too. But if you
Mm-hmm.
look at the way that the book is written, you know it's fiction. It's not. It's fantasy. It's not a real fate. So I think
That's
that's where we place the I don't know what the word is, but have to draw. Well, that's where we draw the line. I guess that's what I'm
yeah,
trying to say.
that's true.
True.
And
So I
So I
think
think
also
also
something to
something to
remind
remind
people
people
about is
about is
that
that
just
just
as in
as in
anything,
anything,
in
in
fiction or
fiction or
even in
even in
reality,
reality,
the
the
important thing
important thing
is
is the
the ability to see what is real and what isn't. So the reality is what we have in the world, what we have in the Lord, rather. And it certainly is not going to give you power by waving a piece of stick around and chanting pseudo Latin words. If that gave me magic then I would be like one of the greatest wizards in the world, along with millions of others, right? Which is obviously not the case. That is not how witchcraft and wizardry happens in reality. That's another thing maybe we could look into, but not today.
Sorry, I keep forgetting about unmuting. But anyway, this is a game that I actually enjoy because it's the first time that I become ranked in competition that I actually reached diamond
Wow
diamond rank,
naman.
which is like wow. Because in other games, I'm usually what at the lowest rank, lowest tier. So this is the only one that I actually try to best. But when you get to diamond rank, everybody's just so good. It's so hard to actually move. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's
and it's
possible
possible
that
that
because
we can
at
say
this
this
game,
game,
okay,
okay,
so the
the
game
game
itself,
itself,
like
like
we're
we're
gonna
gonna
unpack the
unpack the
game
game
itself
itself
a
a
little
little
bit.
bit.
So
So
you
you
take the
take the
role of
role
a
of a
student
student
who
who
enters the
enters the
school,
school,
and you
and
can
you can
choose your
choose your
house.
house.
The
The
game can
game can
assign a
assign a
random
random
house to
house to
you,
you,
but you
but
can also select the house you want, and you will be accompanied by a number of characters, namely one of them, the character we'll be discussing tonight, the Ivy Worthington. The other two characters are Daniel Page, and the third character, well, not third,
Lucky
the other lady is Lottie Turner.
Lucky Turner.
So yes,
But there's also Robin.
so
so
there
there
are
are
other
other
characters
characters
whose
whose
houses
houses
are
are fixed.
fixed, and the
And the
two
two
houses who
houses who
have
have
fixed
fixed
characters
characters
are
are
predictably
predictably
Gryffindor
Gryffindor
and
and
Slytherin.
Slytherin.
So
So
Gryffindor
Gryffindor has
has two
two
canon
canon characters.
characters, Kevin and um, Robin. Then Slytherin has three canon characters, which is Veronica. Sorry, sorry,
Sorry,
is it
is it
Veronica? No,
Veronica?
no, no.
Yeah. Veronica, who's
Cassandra.
Veronica?
Sorry,
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 Cassandra.
Cassandra.
She has said
SRT.
Veronica, right? Sorry, Cassandra Vole. Ugh, blah blah. My bad, my bad. Cassandra Vole and the Frey twins, the Frey brothers. So the rest are the other houses do not yet have characters who are fixed and have a major part. We have glimpses of them in the side games, but they don't appear into the main story just yet. But yeah, we're just explaining what are the things you can do in Magic Awaken. So this is not exactly a hard promotion of the game, but just like a discussion. What can you do? It's like you attend classes. You have a lot of fun mini games which you can play with friends
Mhm.
together. They're dancing. There's a dance rhythm game where you do meet one of the side characters that's canon. See
See,
Alma.
Alma?
What's her name? Alma,
Alma.
who is the currently only canon Hufflepuff character as of yet. You also
Mm.
meet. There's also like other classes like the history of magic, which is basically the Harry Potter nerd lore class. So if you need to test your skills in how much you know about the in-game lore of Harry Potter, that's the class you attend. There's also
Yeah.
Muggle Studies, which is real life trivia. So if you need to know how broad your general knowledge is with a little bit in relation to Harry Potter, then you do Muggle classes. And there
And
are
there are
other
other
games
games
that they
that they
have
I have just have
are
to
more
I just want to
yeah.
say Muggle studies. I like some of the questions because they ask like, "What is a car?" or
Yes.
How do
It's
they
quite
grade
a thing.
classes,
It's quite a
Paul?
thing. No
what is
worries.
the
It's
use
quite a
of a
thing.
rubber ducky?
What is a rubber ducky? What's it used for? Yeah, so Muggle studies have a lot of really quirky questions, and they are general knowledge about life, mostly English life. So if you're an Anglophile, that's a thing. So anyhow,
So I just
uh,
want to clear with everybody that the game is actually different from Hogwarts Legacy. which is also a
Yeah.
pretty good game because Hogwarts Legacy is a game that is based in the past. So that's actually 100 or so more years
Oh.
in the past. So
Yeah.
it's old. Basically, it's a very old.
Mhm.
While uh, Hogwarts or rather Harry Potter Magic Awakened happens roughly 10 years after the end of the seventh year of
Yeah,
the
these are new generation of students na.
Yep.
yes, there's a
So
so
actually,
basically you
the
are
students here are roughly Gen Z. Tama ba?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Gen Z,
Yeah.
because you're born in like 99, 98, 97. The students here are born in the 90s. So if you were born in the mid to late 90s, kabatch nyo yung mga students dito.
Mm.
so
Are
the
there
kids here
So,
what's nice about this because it feels like oh I'm still in the world of Harry Potter. These
true, very
characters
true.
still exist, but they are now background characters because we are now
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a new set of students with their own set of problems, and
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I get this feeling that there's going to be its own big body by the end of the game. And the game is still actually ongoing because I there are patches that haven't been released yet. It's
Yeah.
so but the nice thing about this game is because you get to really live like a character
In the
in
classes.
the story. So if you are a big Harry Potter nerd, you get to kind of enjoy what would it be like if you were a student, and because like
Yeah.
we mentioned earlier, you can take dance classes, you can take dueling, you can be in the dueling club, you can take classes with other players, right? So you go through
Mm-hmm.
all of these classes. Actually, not all of the classes are available yet. For example, there's still no potions class, which actually I'm looking forward to.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. But there
Because
are
there
a
are a
lot
lot
of
of
other mini game classes. Like the rune classes are there where you play a memory game. So this is good for you mga tito and tita who want to practice their memory skills. And then there's the drawing game, right? The art game. So
Divination.
yes, divination where you practice drawing stuff. So if you're a good artist with a pen, then boo to you. No, I'm kidding. Competitive, you know. So yeah, because you play together, and yeah, and of course you have probably what I would say is the core new thing in the Harry Potter games, which is the dueling system using spell cards. And the spell cards, my friends, are basically gotcha. So this is how the game earns money, right?
Oh
If you're
yeah, the
impatient,
TCG.
If you're impatient and you want to pull more cards, you can spend for it if you want to. Totally optional. We have some players, I would say half of the group is purely non spending. Yeah, roughly half the group. The other half has minor spending. We bought like the daily, it gives us like a certain amount of cash daily, so we can use it to pull more cards. But it's a minor amount.
But the
So
truth be told, if I wasn't on a budget right now and it was limited, I might have spent. But because
the biggest the
honestly,
biggest thing here is to spend to look good, actually.
the
Hindi
biggest
siya masyadong spend to win eh.
honestly because I was thinking because I'm really into the dueling thing right now, and like I
Yes.
mentioned, I'm already diamond rank, so I came from what bronze, silver, gold, platinum, then diamond, and I haven't moved from diamond at all. Not just haven't moved from
So
diamond. What
his
my
rank points are
score,
like
my rank
this.
points has not moved
Katulad namin,
as well.
Jace.
And so I
He's
feel like the
basically
Hingi
people,
naman
plateau.
ng kapalat.
I feel like the
Nag-plateau siya.
people I feel like that the people that I'm fighting with have higher level spell books because they're spending.
That is possible. They're spending or they're grinding us more efficiently. Because like we're a casual guild, right?
Yeah.
And
Ano,
sorry,
minor.
social club. So in the game, your guild or group is called the social club. And I appreciate the social club, although we haven't leveraged it to its max yet. Because you actually have a room where you go into the club and all of your members are just hanging out there. So you can actually like go around and sit and then just chat. Although currently not a lot of people do that, but the fact that the game allows it is not bad. It's a good thing. Plus the dorm rooms are also fun. You actually have dorm rooms with people of your house, and
Yeah,
that's
and
an
dorm mate.
interesting thing, right? You have dorm mates who actually can help you in the activities. You can just invite them
Yeah,
in
you
if
can
you
invite
want,
them.
right? So it's
Who's
a
your
very
dorm mate,
social game.
Maya?
There's a lot of social elements.
Ano daw?
Who's your dorm mate, Maya?
Si Shy! Pareho kaming Hufflepuff.
Or
Ah,
my dorm mate is Gio because we're also both Hufflepuff.
Ako
so
iba
our
yung
our,
Hufflepuff,
our group
guys.
has a lot of Hufflepuff.
Yeah, we have a. I realize we so ADHD. We are what do you call that? What do you call it? Jack of all trades.
Mm,
That's why most of us get put into Hufflepuff.
mm. J3, ano, do you have roommates? Ay, dorm mates?
Yeah, I do. I have a full set of 4 dorm mates. One of it is Alex. So
Oh,
Alex is
you're
the
both
other Slytherin. Yeah,
Slytherin.
we're both Slytherin. House Snake, and then we have 2 dorm mates who are actually alive. Because there's some dorm mates na they join the game and then they leave and they're still in your dorm.
Mm.
It's like, oh no, this person's inactive and no longer plays. It's sad because their body character is just there, in the dorm. But yung ours, they actually log in, so I'm actually thinking of inviting them to be friends. Except for one who has a really bad name. I have a thing for characters with at least spell your name correctly. I mean, wag naman yung XYZXXXXV yung pangalan. Pero ganun kasi yung pangalan ng isang dormmate eh. It's like, oh, my name's XYZ2222. I'm like, oh, I don't know
Ay,
what to
what?
call you. Should I call you two? Two,
Oh,
two, two, two? What do I call you? I mean, okay, no offense against people who use numbers in their names, but like some numbers are just really weird. Just
yeah.
slap it on.
And then who else do we have on the team? Like other house?
Well,
Brav, who is Ravenclaw,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Ravenclaw. He's currently our only Ravenclaw.
Wait, isn't Nina
Di ba?
Ravenclaw?
Si
Who?
Nix is Ravenclaw.
Nai.
Ah, yeah, sorry, male Ravenclaw then.
Ah, okay.
I think no, yeah, I think
She
he
will
was
con-
Raven.
she will confirm with us once she joins us on the
Yes,
stream.
if
Yin
when
pa
she
rin
joins
yan.
us. So sino pa nga yan? We did have a Gryffindor, si Vince, but he is
Mm.
erratically active. He just pops in and out.
Mm.
Um, Gio actually should have been a Gryffindor, but he allowed himself to
Those,
be sorted into Hufflepuff.
uh,
But canonically speaking, when I say canonically, I just mean the Potterverse sorting because that one actually had a bunch of exams, right? Like you take a lot of questions and it sorts you into a house based on your personality type, blah blah blah. So, canonically speaking, Gio is a Gryffindor.
Yeah, I'm a wannabe Gryffindor who and I thought if I don't get Gryffindor, I'd get Ravenclaw and suddenly Hufflepuff?
You're a Hufflepuff, bro.
So anyway, with that being said, so why we actually have this series right now called Finding God, and
Mhm.
what we want to do is basically dissect stories within games, movies, whatever that we have
Mhm.
been into, and see how God actually plays a role in the story.
Correct.
Because we believe that creativity, not creation, but creation too, but
Yeah.
creativity specifically comes from God. So,
Yep.
and so it actually it reflects in the stories we write, whether or not you want to acknowledge that. Um, the creativity that will always reflect God, and it comes out in the stories that we talk about, right? So, and I
Mm.
think in this specific story, we want to talk about year one. Wow, yes, year one. So I'm expecting this game to have 7 years, just like the original Harry
I
Potter
hope
I
the
game.
hope
game doesn't only
yes.
have 7 years because if you think about it, once you get to 7 years and they graduate, it's like what? Is the game over?
That's true.
That would
That's
be
that would be sad.
strange and sad. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Sad.
Actually,
Oh.
I would have done year one and then just 1.1, 1.2. I think that would have been a better thing. But anyway, we'll see how they retcon it if this game succeeds more than they thought it would.
So year one, so just to give you a background, guys, year one focuses on the story of Baby. So as a character in the game, because you actually play an important role, you create when you create your own character, you allow yourself to you are described as a new student that Hagrid has to come and fetch you.
Hmm.
And
So yes, Hagrid's
so
still
it
around.
would be your first year at Hogwarts. And so, of course, as a first year, you get to meet a variety of students, and we mentioned the students earlier already.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you get to uh, meet Ivy, who actually in the game you get to sit with on the train.
Mhm.
So, and the story actually is going to at least most of the story in the first year centers around her and her character. So, who
Hmm.
exactly is Ivy Worthington? Or is it Warrington? I
The
keep forgetting.
spoiler area na to.
Yeah, medyo
Yep.
spoiler area na to. But
So again, if you haven't played the game and you don't want to know anything about the main story of the game, this is your final warning. We are going into a spoiler area, and we're gonna dive deep into it. Well, we're gonna dive into it at least.
but even though it's spoiler there, I honestly think it's a good enough story to actually go see it through how
Mm.
it actually plays out. So we're just going to talk about certain specific key events so that you can still enjoy the game if you haven't even if you haven't played. But
Mhm.
again, my question is who is Ivy? Like, who is Ivy, guys? Sino ba si Ivy?
Huh. Oh, it's
Well,
Ivy Warrington pala. Warrington.
there we go. Warrington.
Yeah. So basically, Ivy is the student that you stumble upon. Kasama mo siya sa Hogwarts. Kasabay mo siya sa enrollment. And you
So
kind of
nagkasala siya kasi nag-stumble ka doon.
what? Hindi, ayun. Nagkakilala sila ng character mo. And then you kind of build a friendship together with Ivy and
Mhm.
along with other students. But like we
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, Daniel Page, uh, si Lottie Turner, and among other students. And then you get to know this Ivy character that she comes from a ano ba, from a family na ano din naman,
Magic family. Yeah.
magic family. And then she kind of has this, I don't know what you would call it, but parang may amnesia siya of
Mm.
what happened in her family, specifically sa sibling niya. So from there, parang you go through Hogwarts, the classes and every mini game.
Mhm.
Um, you go through the story, and then dun sa story parang kasi nga 'di ba yung story niya yung ano, yung unang uh, na makikita natin sa game. And
Mm.
then as it progresses, malalaman natin that the reason why um Ivy has this ano siya, may amnesia siya is because something happened to her sibling which she thought she was the one who caused it. It was kind of a traumatic um
Experience. Yeah.
yeah, traumatic experience for her because she used uh she she, she doesn't exactly remember clearly what
Mhm.
happened, but she know that she used a spell that um that made her sibling disappear.
Right.
Was it just her sibling ba or twin siya?
Twin. Her
Twin,
twin.
no? Ayan. So, ayan, that's as far as I uh
Ah,
want to go, so you guys
her
can know.
sister, her sister. I'll double check if it's her twin pala. But definitely her sister.
Yeah.
So there basically was a magical
Oh,
incident. Her sister vanishes, and then when she gets to school, she's like, "Sister, I have a sister," and she's just at school. So it's a
Yeah.
very strange and sad incident.
so actually in the story we get to see
Mm.
as it evolves, we get to see that Ivy uh begins to question her identity. Why can't she remember
Mm-hmm.
these things? That she even had a sister, and
Who is she?
we later find out why it happened. Of course, I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. But in the journey of discovering who she is and what happened to her sister, starts to doubt herself. Starts to
Mm-hmm.
think that she is a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of us can relate to that, right? That sometimes when we in our journeys of growing up, wow, growing up, um, we are all in our 30s, but I definitely think that even when in our younger years, even in our 20s, there's a time where you begin to doubt who you are, what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Am I really a good person? Those intrusive, questionable thoughts, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people think where you want to be something, but what you're seeing is something else, right? Or you want to
Mm-hmm.
be good, but what you're seeing is that, oh, maybe I was a bad person. You want to be excellent at something, but maybe what you're seeing is you're a failure, maybe something like that. So I think a lot of us can relate to where Ivy is, uh, or at least where Ivy was in that storyline.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Those feelings, at least that she experienced, feelings of frustration, confusion,
Mm-hmm.
and and you wanting to protect both herself, but not just herself, wanting to protect the others around her, ends up in her, uh, pushing people away, um, taking actions which actually don't make it easier for her to resolve or deal with her situation.
Mm-hmm.
She actually sets aside any support system or group, and basically pushes away her friends or
Mm-hmm.
those who would be her friends.
Yeah. Idagdag mo pa yung yung may bully ka on the side, and ginagatungan yung mo, confusion mo about yourself, 'di ba? Uy,
Mhm.
bad ka talaga. That part was Cassandra Bullock's role, the
Yeah.
bully.
I think uh, the things that I can relate personally. So I'm gonna talk from experience now. I hope you guys can chime in. Is that there is a natural tendency when you're going through something that you don't want to bother the people around you with your problems.
You
So
don't
you
want
don't
to
want to
burden
burden
others
others
with
with
your
want to
issue.
burden them. You don't want to bother them with their problems. So I'll take care of this on my own. I'll take care of the problem on my own. You, I don't need you guys.
Or the alternate is same response, not exactly the same thought. Is rather than thinking, oh, I don't want to burden others, it could also be, I can handle this. I can handle this on my own. I don't want your help.
Mm,
It could be something like that. It could be ano pang ibang pwedeng angle. There are different mindsets. But the idea is basically you bring it to yourself, whether it's out of fear, out of pride, out of whatever. Na, oh, I can't be seen as I can't handle this. No, I can handle this. Diba?
mm,
You don't want to be seen as incompetent or whatever. It's like, no, kaya ko to. Diba? So there are different um mindsets, whereas the result is just I'm dealing with it by myself, diba? Whether
Whether
it's
it's
from
from
a defense mechanism, it is a defense mechanism regardless of how you angle it. It's just different versions of a defense mechanism of pushing
Mm.
people away.
Yeah. So Vince says Cassandra best girl. I will argue with that. But anyway,
There's this interesting thing about the bullying. Yes, it is bullying. I
but it
agree.
could be something else too. But
But
anyway,
the bullying kasi comes from a different, it's not, it isn't a I just want to punish you kind of bullying. Cassandra is another interesting character, and I'm sure we'll see more of her later on. But let's keep the focus more on Ivy at the moment.
Mm.
yep. So Kyle says could be that our experience is when we get help, others just make it worse. So better that
Mhm.
I just deal with it.
And it's also true because not everyone is equipped or experienced enough, or has the right makeup to deal with the particular situation you're in, right? So it also behooves us to uh, know whom to tap when we do leverage any support system. But we're kind of moving around here, so I'll
Anyway,
throw it back. Yes,
so sa
we're gonna get to
beginning,
that. We're gonna get to
it's
that.
also it's not always na I don't need you guys, but more of I don't want to burden you, which is exactly what we Nolan also mentioned earlier. Na parang
Yeah.
sometimes I don't want to burden you with my problems. I like you as a friend, so I want to keep our relationship happy. So
Yeah.
I don't want to burden you with my problems and my issues, and so
Mhm.
I'll take it on my own. And I think a lot of people experience that, and Christians are not immune to that. In fact, in certain cases, Christians have this what's the word pressure to be okay, even when they're not. I think Maya, you have something to say.
Hindi, most of the time lang kasi gano'n ang, tingin
That's
nila
true.
sa Christians. You would think that hindi porket, you have Jesus inside of you na parang ano, worry free ka na, uh, you're free from anxiety, depression, and everything. It's not always the case, but you can um we do acknowledge that Jesus is always there for us when we do experience those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And
yeah,
I
may
think
pressure na maging okay kapag Christian ka. Because you'd think, because people would think na,
Yeah.
well, di ba may Jesus ka na, dapat hindi ka na ganyan, ganun.
Because yeah, it's like saying the presence of Jesus in a Christian's life. It's not like unlocking the powers of a super saiyan. It's
Hmm.
not like, oh, you're a Christian, a super saiyan ka na, boom, I can destroy the world at will, bam, diba? Kamehameha. It's like, no, that's not how it works. It's not how it works, right? It's not how it works. It's like saying, oh, you're this person, and suddenly, bam, you change, right? Like that's not how it goes. Um, Change can happen quickly, but it can also happen gradually. Every person's life story is different, and that's just how being a Christian is. So,
yeah.
yeah,
So
Goku. No, come on, Goku never relaxes. He's okay. Maybe I'm like Vegeta, but anyway. Anyhow, yeah, I'm mixing in my different nerddoms here,
so
but I just
anyway,
gave her a really good example. So
so what I was about to say is that how do we then sorry how do we then respond to that when let's say you have people in your life, especially people that you care for, who push you
mm,
away because you know they're doing they're okay, or at least they're projecting to be okay, or they're projecting that they don't need help. How do we respond to that? And actually I do see here in the storyline how specifically Daniel would say this is not that you know I want to love you regardless. You see, I saw that response that I want to love you regardless. I want to see you as a good person regardless of what you feel or what you see, how you see yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel that it's such an amazing thing because we hear such a very Christian, not just Christian, very Christ-like response. Don't you think?
Mhm. It is actually, which is a surprise because Daniel is one of the more oddball characters. Like I feel like when I get to know Daniel in the story, he seems to want to be a loner. And then suddenly once you break through that bit of him, he's like, "No, I want to be friends." And suddenly he's like he feels like a Gryffindor. And he's just pushing himself into every situation like, "No, we got to be friends. Let's help each other." I'm like, "Wow, it doesn't match his face." Sorry. He looks like such a gloomy guy kasi. So also don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a
I
friend by their eye bags.
Hey, bags.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I think it's just really well. Daniel tends to be gloomy
Mm.
anyway. He really does, but he is where I guess that's where we say that it's you keep those are the kinds of friends that are keepers. I would
Mm-hmm.
say the
Yeah,
kind
that's
that
true.
will stick by you. Well, stand by you.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because when push came to shove, when things became really intense, he stood up naman. Like, or it's like he grouched about it a lot, he grumbled about it a lot, but he actually just kept going along until the point na he's actually one of those who were pushing to be as friends with each other and stuff.
I would also just like to point out na it's yung problem ni Ivy. It's not just uh a shallow problem with her sibling kasi she saw herself as a dangerous person, not just a
Yeah,
bad
it's true.
person. Dangerous meaning, di ba we're talking about spells here, and we know
Yeah,
that spells can be um dangerous when practiced on people na we
yeah.
don't know yung consequences, diba, right?
Mm.
So what happened was more dangerous than just bad, and she saw herself as a dangerous person. That's why she didn't want her friends to parang help her, because she thought she might hurt them as well, because
True.
yun yung pinanggalingan ng fear niya with her sibling na um she did something that was very dangerous that caused her sibling to just disappear, 'di ba?
Right, right.
So and what I would also like to emphasize is that yung courage that her friends had uh, towards her, na to love her despite being her dangerous, despite not knowing kung ano yung nangyari masyado. Hindi pa nila alam kasi, 'di ba? So
Yeah.
despite knowing na it it could really be dangerous, they really put themselves out there to really find out what happened, to know what kind of help they can give Ivy, and for someone to do those kinds of things with the thought of baka may mangyari sa akin because this person could is potentially dangerous, is
Hmm.
just the show of bravery talaga, of how far
Hmm.
you can go for a friend that you really love and would want them to would want to see them um tawag din, want to see them
Cared
change or
for,
be,
perhaps.
yeah, care for change
Mm.
kasi they see themselves dangerous, eh, 'di ba? So
Mm.
si Ivy, she sees herself as a dangerous person. They really want her to change from that. So kung potentially dangerous si Ivy, parang we don't want you to think that way. We don't want you na you'd stay that way. So they really took the effort to find out what really happened, the root of it
Mhm.
all, and then how they could help out Ivy in the way that
Mhm,
uh
mhm.
parang even though they were being pushed by away by Ivy, they
Right,
really
right.
gave themselves gave time for her to and to help her out with her amnesiatic beauty and everything.
Mm. It does help that all of them are technically on equal ground because although they say like, oh, she's dangerous, from a Harry Potter in-game point of view, the danger she could inflict on a person is roughly the same as any one of them could have inflicted on each other. Diba? Because you think about it, a wand is they all have wands. They all can cast spells. So it's
Mm-hmm.
actually fairly equal. It's more of like the mental danger she poses to them because she has shown herself as, or at least her enemies have said that she is the type who would use those dangerous spells on fellow students.
Mm-hmm.
But theoretically speaking, any student could use any spell on each other. It's just that their sense of morals and education are preventing them from doing so, from
So
being
it,
dark wizards, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I was just to circle back to what Maya said.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Jesus. I mean, really, someone who is not afraid to with what people will say, not afraid of um the danger that he would encounter in
Mhm.
showing love and understanding and compassion to someone who is considered by society or considered by many be dangerous. And this is something that you see actually
That's true.
in the Bible quite often, where Jesus would sit down and have dinner with sinners. He would
The
have pity and
unacceptable.
compassion on someone who's possessed, which in those times, if someone is actually possessed, poses a danger to society, and he would show love and compassion regardless. So I think um, the actions of Daniel and here shows similarity. Not that not that Daniel Page is a messianic figure in Harry Potter. No, far from it. But what I'm saying is that there is a reflection of how Daniel showed that sacrificial love, right? That even if it's a possibility that there could be danger to myself, I will still believe the best in you,
Mm-hmm.
or at least in his friend.
Mm.
And
Or your character shows that more visibly and initially, which Daniel also responds to, and then he supports that. So, because
although
in the start,
personally,
in the start of the story, I think it's your character that shows it.
yeah, no, I was thinking personally, I think it was really
Mm.
Daniel who would say, but I don't really. Actually, Daniel was the first one to say, I don't really believe that she's dangerous though. And then your character would support
Exactly.
that. So
Yeah. Right. Right.
it actually is. I feel that partly that Daniel is more brave because he has your support as well as a friend,
Mm-hmm.
as a friend, or as the character supporting him. That's why he's
Mhm.
also more brave in showing that. I think, I believe that Ivy is not a bad guy, or she's not dangerous. So it's really also when we see that, we also get to see that the importance really of community, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really something that we should always also be able to take a look at.
Mhm.
I just want to say some comments here. Kyle says, "Better watch out, bro. We know Paul in Corinthians says demons show up as angels of Slytherin." And
Well,
Vince is saying, "Oh no, snakes! No, JB, you shouldn't be communing with the heathens."
we're just
So
trying to follow the Lord's example, sir.
China also echoed what I was saying about they didn't believe that Ivy really did it or that she was evil. So they were still assuming the best of her, regardless of
Mm.
the rumors regarding because they don't know the full story. And I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
problem nowadays with society, especially Don and I.
Social media.
We've been talking about a certain picture that has been floating around with a certain
Mm-hmm.
pastor, and we don't know the entire story, and so people are just so quick to jump to conclusions and quick
Yes.
to call out each other. And
Mm.
the problem is when you think about it from the perspective of, and this is my problem about calling out other Christians in public in certain settings, is that sometimes you have to realize that people who are not Christians will look at you and they will say, eh, kayo rin naman pala nag-aaway-away eh. Kayo rin yung mga Christians nag-aaway-away eh. You Christians are also fighting with each other. So,
Mhm.
because we're so quick to jump to conclusions and we're so quick to judge, I think we should show, rather than quick to judge, quick to, the Bible says we have to be slow to speak, right? Slow to anger, and we have to be quick to listen. So we have to take the time to really assess the situation and look at, um, what was best. And Tyler saying they were not quick to cancel Ivy. Exactly. When the whole world, when Cassandra and the rest were saying, no, Ivy is like this, blah, 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 they refused to cancel Ivy.
Mm.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Kyle also says that, okay, they don't want to do this, but we should also think about non Christians who know the damage these guys do and wonder why we do nothing. I know so many.
That's also
Yeah.
true. That's also
That is
true.
that is a thing for a separate podcast. It is. It is a thing for a separate podcast. It is a good topic. It is a good topic. So,
Sure.
yes, we are. Yeah, we are all off topic. But thank you for participating in our stream. For those who are unaware, we know who you are. We'll talk. We'll discuss separately. But let us get back to our main thing of the evening. Yes, Wingardium Leviosa, and it is. It is. Mhm. So, but actually, that's a pretty cohesive story. Yes. Um, so Ivy was not one to be canceled. Actually, it's the chapter of love, diba? Love is patient. You gotta have extra patience, extra kindness to understand where people are. What's
Mm.
going on with their lives? What's the truth? Ano ba ba, di ba? Practice yan. Practice the First Corinthians 13, di ba?
Love, love, love.
Di ba? Ano ba yung kwenta ng... well, okay, just connecting everything. Like, what use is all of your, speaking in tongues, your prophecy, your mysteries, your knowledge, your faith?
Your
But
parcel
if
tongue.
you have love, if you don't have love, you
Your
have nothing.
parcel tongue, I love.
What use is your partial tongue if you don't have love? Yes. Your ancient runic art.
But
It's you.
diba, yun nga naman yung point ng Harry Potter was the love of his mother that saved him from
It's love, yes. So
actually getting.
it's really interesting because it's like no matter how it is, even if you give all you possess to the if you give all you possess to the poor, give all your body to hardship, but you don't actually have love, the love of God, it's really nothing, right? It's really nothing. So wala kang agape, you're done.
Mm.
So yes.
And I think that's why Daniel actually did show agape love, sacrificial love, right? Because he didn't look to his own comfort, he didn't look to his own safety. Because there are many people who can say, I think she's a good guy, but do nothing. So then
Mm.
you are
Yep.
just as bad as those who did something. I did something against this person. No,
Mm.
there is a saying. There's a very very famous saying where it says that all all that is needed for evil to triumph is good men to do nothing. Right?
Mm.
Because if you think about it, Daniel could have said something along the lines of, I don't think she really is a dangerous person, but that's none of our business.
Meh.
And go on with their
That's true.
lives, right?
Or
Mm.
the thing is yun nga, di ba? It's a good expression of love. Why? Because it does not delight in evil. You know, if there's something
Mm.
evil happening, you won't be happy with it, but you rejoice with the truth. You don't punish with the truth. You rejoice with it. There's quite a big difference,
Mm.
and it always protects. Protego. It always trusts.
So talo
It
pag tayo
always
boy ka.
it always trusts. It always hopes, and it always perseveres. So you see this happening in practice within Ivy's story. You'll see it happen in a lot of the character stories, of course. But
Mm.
it's a good thing here. So like it's protective. It extends trust, which is what they did. They wanted to extend trust. It hopes because they were hoping for the best from their friend, and they persevered.
Mm.
And without which, they might not have discovered what happened to Ivy. They might not have helped her resolve her problem. Although there's still a long story more to go. Hindi siya 100% resolved, but they resolved a major issue with her, which was fine, which gets resolved in the end of the first year act, na yung story ni Ivy with her weird memories and conflicting mental states.
Mm.
So yes.
And I think we need to also include the idea where as this is something this has always been an advocacy of mine because I find it sometimes frustrating there when Christians go through uh, mental anxiety, mental illness, anxiety, depression, and the like, where we see Ivy's character is going through a trauma. There's obviously she's going through a traumatic experience, so much so that her memories need to be wiped so that she would not be able to relive the trauma.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
The memory wiping also causing additional trauma.
trauma.
Mm.
So
So you
yes,
think,
the
right?
who will hide it behind the doesn't work. You have to work through your traumas. You don't sweep it behind the rug,
Mm.
under the rug rather. All it does is put the dirt there. The
which I
dirt's
believe,
there.
as Christians, one of the things that we can learn from this scenario is number one that as a- as uh, as a believer, it doesn't mean because you're a believer things are just going to be okay. Things are just going to be fine, even if they're not fine. It doesn't work that way. And so we cannot run away from what we're going through. We cannot hide it under uh, hide it under the rug or make it look beautiful when actually it's not. We have to
Mm.
actually go through it. We have to go and process it. Because I know many Christians who struggle with developing in their maturity, in their spiritual and their emotional and maturity because they're not dealing with the situation. Their natural tendency is to run away from the situation or
Mm.
deflect. They will deflect the issue. So instead of them actually processing it, even if though it's difficult, they deflect or they run away or hide from it. And I think someone who wants to really mature in their walk, whether it's as a Christian and even if and this applies even if you're not a Christian, is
Mm.
uh to really process it. And the problem is there are there are many Christians who would say, for example, wag mo nang isipin yan, pag-pray mo na lang yan. Or, I, or,
Well,
totoo naman Maya, di ba? There
Oh,
are people who say that, or they will,
can you just not?
or they bombard you with verses as if the verses will suddenly come alive and eat up whatever problems you're going through. Diba? Ako kasi I believe
well, it
problems.
depends. It depends on the verse also. Like
Uh,
I mean, I would feel maybe if the verses were like, okay, let's comfort you kind of thing, then they might be
Lamentations,
something.
ganyan.
Pero if it's like maybe like yung tipong, no, you gotta like I mean, the verses are spells. Yes.
Or my favorite talaga, to deal with anxiety, to deal with mental problems that you're suffering, sabihin sa'yo, kulang ka lang sa faith.
Pray ka pa, bro.
Pray ka pa more, bro. Kulang ka lang sa ano, you're not connected kasi eh. Eh, wow. Flip table. And I think that's really, what's the word I'm looking for? Masyadong minimize mo
Yeah.
situation, minimize mo yung tema ng isang tao. Because I believe problems and the mental anguish that it causes, it's actually, for me, I believe is a tool for you to learn from it and to
Mm.
process it, to learn from it, and to grow from it. And if you don't go through it, if you're just going to sweep it under the rug every single time, if you're just going to say, hindi, masaya ako kahit marami akong pinag-problema, then andyan si Lord, tapos ganun lang yung mindset mo at wala kang ginawa, you didn't do anything to actually process it, then you're not
Mm.
maturing in your walk, you're not maturing in your
You might not be, yeah.
yeah,
So
because God
I guess
actually
I guess a good
allowed
example.
problems to happen so that you can grow from it.
I guess a good example would be to process it the way maybe David processed things. Go write a song. No, but I mean, honestly, it does mean that you didn't just, throw it away, right? You sat down, you meditated on your thing, so much so that you actually turned it into a song. And then in the process, you let God speak to you, which is why yung mga painful psalms niya, some of the psalms are like, oh, it sounds so pretty. Tapos biglang, teka, hindi pala. Di ba? It's like those songs na tipong, it's such a nice tune. And when you listen to the lyrics, it's like,
Depression.
wait, what? What was that again? It's like, so that's for me, that's like the vibe of some of David's psalms. Like, in music, whatever, and then it's like, oh wait, he's dealing with some major stuff here, right? Anyhow, so
So the
yes,
so in the comments nagmedyo na ano na, sabi ni Kyle says, "Bro, stop calling me out live." And then Vince is giving up
the verses
examples
are
like, "Pray the mental problem away. Kulang ka lang sa prayer sa mental health mo."
we're not telling you to not pray, by the way. I mean, prayer really does help, it does.
Prayer needs
But
help.
yes,
But
that said,
to say
just
that
step back
it's
a
the,
moment.
it's the only thing that will help your mental problem is really minimizing the issue.
Right.
Kyle says the verses are spells, bro. Swish and flick. I can do all things who try to strengthens me.
Do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I mean, you can, just not in the way you think. So not in the way that most people, that many, not most, but many people misuse that phrase. So yun.
So going back, I just also want to mention that the way Ivy's family, I won't go into details, but the way that Ivy's family dealt with the situation was to hide it, right? And
Mm.
obviously, it didn't work.
Oh,
So,
what about
Super
the Ivy?
alam mo
Poor
yung,
yeah.
girl.
parang
Kawawa
yung
si
parang ang anak
Ivy.
na yung, alam
I
mo yung
feel
sa mga
sad for
Filipino
her.
dramas or telenovelas where you grow
Pero may
up, tapos you're
telenovela
the only one
drama.
who doesn't know the family story, the family secret, and you're the only one who's oblivious. It's really like that. It's like a telenovela story where
The
you're
Harry Potter people clearly watch Spanish telenovelas to create this thing now. Yeah, I was like, there's actually you actually have a twin sister. I'm
How about grandma?
just kidding.
Take away your memory.
Like we're laughing about it, but it is actually really horrendous, right? But I guess this is an example of like, there can be well-meaning people and they do it with the best of intentions who actually cause a lot of harm, not
more harm
and
than
by
good.
accident. by accident or by just using the wrong methods or
Mhm.
whatever. So
Yeah, Vince is echoing that to be fair, grandmom meant well. But meaning well and doing well are two different things. Like
yeah,
Pastor
so
Peter in CCF always says, your intention does not determine your destination. You might
that's
have good intentions, but if your direction is in the wrong direction, you'll still not be able to get to where your destination is. And so you might be well-meaning, but if you are, and then starting to see that because when I was a young Christian, my answer to everything was prayer and reading the Bible, which is technically true, but
still still
if you're gonna
technically
force
correct,
that down
but
to
you can
everybody's
have a
throat,
bigger
diba?
understanding of how that will work out for you.
So Kyle says, "I hate to get serious, but good intentions are not good enough to make good decisions. You gotta think about it and use wisdom. Exactly. There has to
Yeah.
be certain wisdom and discernment. And as we see in the story of Ivy, her grandmother had good intentions. Tinago ng pamilya niya yung what happened. But that actually caused more harm than good. And in the
Yep.
end, the only way for her to move forward in her life and
Was to
process
accept the truth.
was to accept the truth that
Mhm.
this thing happened
To
and
accept God,
to
to
come
accept
up with a
the issue.
solution to moving forward, right?
Yes.
Not dwell in, oh, let's rewind history and look what
Let's hide things. So hiding things generally doesn't resolve anything. So you gotta have the courage, but also equip yourself with the right skills and the right heart to deal with things, which is what God gives us, diba? The Lord enables this in us by giving us the mind, the heart, the eyes with which to see people, diba? And that's what we should actually practice. And unfortunately, many Christians, most Christians, I would say all Christians, at some point will fail at some of this or all of this.
what
Uh,
Christians fail at things. Joke lang.
my gosh, Christians fail at things. Yes, that's why we need the Lord, of course, right? So, but the point would be becoming a Christian just kind of opens the path to, hey, this is what healthy life is. This is what a spiritually healthy life is. This is what Christ likeness is. And since everyone in the world is different, well, kumbaga, you just have to learn the skill sets, the heart, the mind, the eyes, and everything that can accommodate that, which is what Christ did for all of us. Diba? Christ's love accommodated every single person's unique quirks, baggages, issues, and concerns. That's because he's Jesus, he's God. We're
Mhm.
not, but he helps us. So for wherever you are, whatever community you're with, whatever family you're with, um, definitely Christ can help. This is where you apply the I can do all things through Christ in a more proper manner, which is what you're in now and the group you're with, the family you're with, the community you're with. Christ can help you to deal with it in a godly manner, right? So, yeah,
Vince is saying, how dare you say that? Since Christians should always be happy.
we're
We're always
always
sarcastic.
happy with the Lord. They joke. I don't know. Actually, there are times you won't be happy with God, and that's fine. See, David nga mismo, there were moments where he wasn't happy with it. He was troubled, and he lamented to the Lord.
Mhm.
I think a perfect example is Job.
Yeah,
Job
Job's a good
actually put
example.
faith in God, but at one point, he had a conversation with God, questioning God.
Mhm.
Why did these things happen?
Yeah, he was just true to his emotions.
He was true to his emotions. Tapos sinagot ka ni God na, nandun ka ba nang create ko to mga to? I'm sorry, Lord. Wala ka lang. After that, I'm sorry. hmm? Alam mo ko sasabihin.
Yeah, because then usually it's always like, oh, sino ko ba? Who are you to say these things? It's like, well, this is who I am. This is who I am. This is who God is. But anyway,
Kyle
we are,
saying it takes a lot of work, but it is worth it to contextualize our approach to any given situation. Life ain't no one size
fits
fits
all.
all, unfortunately. And that's true. I think the problem is that that sometimes I think this is not really. I think this is something that sometimes happens with mega churches like ours,
Yeah,
because
they're
we
just
are
really
CCF.
big.
There's a tendency to ito yung we have a process for everything. So there's a tendency for us to approach things the same way. Ev-
Mm.
When actually the truth is every situation is different, right? Every problem is different, even if they're literally the same problem, the person that you're talking to are not the same people, and they would probably be handling the situation differently. So the
Yep.
way that their emotions are being triggered may also be different because they are different people, different backgrounds, different origin story talaga. Different
Yep.
thought process. So we need to really be able to take the time to listen and empathize
Mm.
with the people that we are ministering to. And I think that's why it's important to have, um, which Ivy had, is a council of friends who was there to listen to her, to take the time to understand her, and when it was needed to bring in the council of elders, McGonagall.
To be fair, yes, she fulfilled the role of the elder who cut straight to the truth of the issue.
Yeah, she was the
And
one who
that is a
handled
rare
it.
thing. That is a rare thing. And that's something we should aspire to be, right? Yung tipong, yeah, I'm old, but I'm not here to just, wave my age at you. I'm here to help things. And she took she looked for like what was the issue talaga. She
Mm.
really looked into like the unique,
The issue was the
what were the
grandma.
truths, ano yung truths ng matter, which takes patience. When you get older kasi, you lose patience. It's funny like, 'di ba? When you're young, you don't have patience. When you get older, you also lose patience. So paano na? But anyway, you get patience from the Lord, fortunately. So yeah, what are anything you think you'd like to close with? Yeah. Seeing that it is now past 10.
Hmm.
I wish I would have a script writer like Ivy. Yung tipong, here's your friends, boys. They got the answer.
I think one of the things, there are several lessons to be learned.
All
I think
right.
that's where in a Christian life really applies. Number
All
one,
right.
I think as Christians, it's important that we not isolate ourselves. I've had the experience as a Christian who went through depression and isolated themselves. Never really does not work. um, and so there, you have to have people who are willing to be by your side. And sometimes they don't need to hear you say anything. Just sometimes you just need someone who will be by your side, who will have your back, listen to you. I think we can see here in Ivy's case that he had a group of friends who was willing to be by her side and to
Mhm.
really
Mm.
search the truth on her behalf without prompting them. No,
Yeah.
hindi naman sila prompt ni Ivy eh. In fact, Ivy was pushing them away. So I think it's important for us to all be part of a community like that. So that's why you should join Level Up Game Nights. And I think secondly is that we can again we need to learn that we cannot just simply uh sweep under the rug the problems and issues that we have. And I think God uses problems and issues as tools for us to grow. right? And I'm also a firm believer that He will not give us a problem that we cannot handle without Him. Meaning to say, sometimes kasi there are problems that, like for example, someone who is alcoholic, for example, would struggle with the problems that's related to alcohol.
Right.
But I would believe that God, while God might still use alcohol as a test or as a way to for you to grow from your, I don't, but probably God won't give you, like, put you in a situation all the time where you're surrounded by alcohol where you would fail, right? But in the same manner, I think, like, know, that same person probably will be able to handle other things with relatively easier ways if God tests them on that. But the idea is that we can handle it as long as God is with us. So the tests that come is not insurmountable. The Bible is clear that all things are possible with God, right? And
Mm.
if God is for us, then who can be against us?
Right.
It's just sometimes we just have to go through it. It's a season that you just have to go through it. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to learn to process those things. And it's best to process them
Mm-hmm.
with friends and maybe a council of elders at your back. Sabi nga ni, Vince, sana all my back. Definitely, if you belong to a community, if you belong to, wow, nag-promote talaga, if you belong to a small group who is willing to listen, to support you, to pray for you, and, be by your side. If that's the only thing you need,
Mm.
they're there to do. I think Ivy is in a is found herself in a good place because she found herself a group of people who are willing to do that for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ultimately these people also need to be grounded in who God
Yeah.
is in order for them to be able to be that, because it's sa dami ko ng kilalang tao, sa dami kong mga kaibigan, posibleng maging good person and helpful person and to everyone, walang
Yep.
Diyos. Because it can actually be emotionally taxing as
It
Mhm.
is emotionally taxing.
That's true.
so yun. That's my
Mm.
2 cents.
That's why kailangan community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would also just would like to jump off from JB's thoughts yung about a community. Syempre, 'di ba, yung perspective of the friends to Ivy na as a community you'd have to also be in tune with the Lord.
Right.
Yung binigay mong verse kanina, J3, na love is patient and everything,
Mm.
it says on First Corinthians chapter 13.
Yep.
um Mahirap, it's already hard na yung person that you're helping out is in and of themselves hirap na sa sarili nila.
Right.
So, syempre for you as a friend, mahirap din sa'yo to go in, to parang help them out and actually go into their world. So you really have to be patient about it. I've known people na um or rather I've been through situations na nakita ko how people are impatient in drawing out yung emotions or whatever
Mm.
that person is going through, na kaya sila nagre-resort to verses or pray about it or kulang ka lang sa ganyan because they're not patient enough to
Mm.
draw out kung ano talaga yung ano what
Yung
the
issue.
problem really is. Yes, yung issue. So yung love is patient, love is kind, we really have to practice these things kasi it's important that yun nga yung everything that we should do out of love, because if it's not done out of love, then you're y- ano it's baliwala siya.
Yeah.
Ayun, so as someone who it, in the community mismo, the friends, um, it's important that we are also in tune with the Lord so that we are able and enabled to help out the people who are in need of that kind of help.
So for us, as our own siguro to ourselves, we should be equipped to love one another. Na don't make it just verses or platitudes. Like yeah, the verses are what we anchor ourselves, what we anchor our learnings to. But we need to learn actual tools and skills that are rooted in those, are rooted in the scripture, and then what is the outflow of that in practice. So
Mm.
yeah. And fortunately, just wrapping up, I guess, yung story ni Ivy. Fortunately for Ivy, her friends happen to practice the right set of principles, the right set of um, actions, the right the right mindset towards. Actually, not all of them had the right mindset towards it, but there were enough with the right mind towards it, right? And yeah, just tapping on as we wrap up our proper here. Equipped to love one another. Being equipped to love one another is actually something that, yeah, you think that it just comes naturally. It doesn't. What you need to teach a child, you don't need to teach a child to be selfish and misbehave because that is what comes naturally to people to be selfish and to misbehave. What does not come naturally to people is to be self sacrificial and
Mm.
loving. That is not what comes naturally to people. You only love yourself selfishly, but to love one another does not come naturally. And this is what we need to learn to practice, especially when it comes to other people. They are different from us. Men, women are different. Men to men, different backgrounds, diba? And you expound it through cultures, upbringing, parents, genetics, all of these things. It's all
Mm.
different. So you need to develop and learn how to love in so many different ways and how to express it in a way that is understood and felt
Mm.
effectively by the people you're trying to minister to, the people you're trying to love. And that's already above the point of being willing to love people, which is
Mm.
another thing. So we have to be willing to love all people, which is another difficult thing. And fortunately for our characters, she had all of that set for her. Not everyone in reality has that set for her. Not everyone in our world does, except through Jesus.
Mm.
And Jesus is the one who enables all of that for us because he is all of that for us.
Mm.
And he enables us to be more of him to one another, to each other as well.
Yes.
So as long as we surrender ourselves to him, right? So hopefully we are always going to be growing more loving and supportive of one another.
Yes.
Yep, I think at the end of the day, really, well, what we can learn from Ivy or Ivy's story that all of these things, well, all of these things be solved by the Lord, but uh, but all of these things really requires the faith in trusting God, the faith in
Mm.
trusting the people that God had sent. I remember when I went through depression, that one of the things that allowed me to recover was God speaking to me saying that I have not abandoned you, that
Mm.
I have always been with you, and that I have sent people to be with you. So um not everyone has kasi the what I call the gift of faith, that they can just simply trust God. Sometimes we need to feel it. And uh God's love is felt by him directly, but it's also felt through the people around us. So I think it's important for us to learn to show that love, regardless of who it is. Kasi sometimes there are people in our lives na nakakaasar nakakainis na inaaway ka pa eh.
Yeah.
Yung paminsan feeling mo, ako na nga tumutulong sa'yo, tapos inaaway mo pa ako, di ba?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's some
Some
people you
people you
don't
don't
feel
feel
deserve
deserve
it.
it.
Yeah, and yet
But
God, God's, God's teaching, the Bible's teaching is to love. So love pa rin. Christian or non-Christian. to continue to pray, to continue to, of course, how we treat Christians and non-Christians are slightly different, but at the end of the day, yun yung ano eh, parang meron tayong standard that we need to take a look at it. God's standard is to love it.
Yep.
I have heard some Christians say that, when people are toxic, you should cut them out in your life. Christians na to nagsasabi ah. And I'm
Mm.
thinking, yeah, you can minimize, ako for me, yeah, minimize your interaction with this person, but you don't cut them out. You still pray for them, you still show compassion and love. You might not necessarily be meeting with them all the time anymore because meron silang toxic personality, or at least their personality is toxic to you. But doesn't mean you just cut them out because that's not God's love eh.
Mm.
So, 'di ba? Having said that, madaling sabihin, mahirap gawin kung wala ang Panginoon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sobrang
And again, and again, that statement also has to be fine-tuned to your specific situation. So,
Yep.
extenuating and very specific circumstances. But that is a story for another time.
But that being said, I think can safely assume that even in the story of Harry Potter's universe, we can see how God works. Again, like I
Yes.
said, creativity is something that comes from God, and so even in works that are non-Christian, we can still see God in it. So,
Amen.
and probably we will be revisiting Magic Awakened once more of the story unfolds, and more of the
Year
passions
two.
unfold. So maybe
Year
year
2 and
two.
onwards, yeah.
So maybe, hopefully, the game
And
is.
hopefully Ninay will be with us na.
Yes, we will pray for her that she will be able to join us,
Yes,
Yay.
being one of
because
our primary Potter nerds.
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to say that you guys are primary Potter nerds, so it's sad that she couldn't join us. There were some technical difficulties, but we understand. So, and she sounded
Primary
really
Potter
sad.
nerd, no? Pero yes. I mean, yes.
Actually, she can probably spout out more facts about Harry Potter than anyone in this
There's
group.
a reason why when we do the advanced magic history classes, I'm like, is Nina around? I want to get a perfect history class. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. There was one time I had Rav and Ninay with me. They're both Ravenclaws, so we basically ate
Wow,
the
You had the
interesting.
nerds with you.
The nerds
yes.
in you.
Let's go.
So yeah. So if you want to hear more about this series, we're actually trying to do this more often, finding God series.
Mm.
Finding God in different kinds of media,
Nerd.
because we believe that
Nerd.
we believe a lot of the media nowadays, whether it's games, movies, etc. We can always find God if we deep it for the Lord. So
Mm.
let's
Let's
revisit that
enjoy
sometime.
things together.
Join us in our next time where we're gonna talk about more spicy things, like a certain picture. No, just kidding.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
And before we go, I just want to invite you guys to join us on Facebook. We are Level Up Game Nights. You can like our Facebook. Check out what's new, what's going on. We also have a Facebook group. It's also Level Up Game Nights. And we have our Discord, which is discord.io/LU game. Discord.io/LU game. And so you can join us on our Discord. We play games, have fun. We have prayer time during Saturday nights. So join us if you want prayers, if you want a community that will try to understand and sit with you, then that's us. And yeah, so on another point, Kyle, I just want to leave with the comments. Kyle says Harry belongs with Hermione, no cap. And Inay says Draco belongs with Hermione. What you mean?
Totoo naman.
So with that being said, we just want to bid you guys farewell until the next Level Up Geek Nights. Bye bye.
Hi.
Goodbye.
Ayasumi.
Ayos,